Welcome to Using the Roud Indexes, Part 4. This time we're talking about advanced searching. Previous one, Part 3, gave you the basics of searching under the simple search facility. And then Parts 1 and 2 explained the theories and philosophy behind the indexes and what goes in and how you can display your data. But now we're well into the searching mode, so we will go to the website as usual, the Vaughan Williams Memorial Library homepage. And as we said at the beginning of all of these tutorials, if you're searching the Roud indexes, don't forget to click on this little box at the front here. Otherwise you'll search everything. Now, something that we haven't mentioned at this stage is there is a box here, only include records with images. And we'll come on to that in a moment when we get into the advanced search. Remember that at this stage the default is to search both the broadside index and the folk song index. So that's what will happen unless you do something to turn off one or the other. And the way you do that is to click on Advanced Search here, and that opens up one window in two halves, which gives you control, much more control than you had before, on how your search proceeds and what kind of search it can be. Now on the left hand side, filter by collection, that's exactly where you can tell the machine where you want to search. Now at the moment, song indexes, which is where my two main indexes are, has got a red line here, which means that some of them are selected, but all of these other boxes are empty. No ticks, which means you won't be searching them. But if you wanted to add in street literature indexes, you click on it and you get a red tick, and that means that all of the street literature indexes are selected. Now we won't be talking about those here, we'll be doing those in part 5 I should think, but for now everything else should be empty, should be blank. Song indexes, you can open up the list and there's 4 of them, and as you'll see 2 of them are mine, and this is where you can say I don't want the broadside index, so unclick it, or I don't want the folk song index. So this gives you control over where you're doing the search. We'll leave them both ticked for now. And of course, as I said just now, if you want to add in the Vaughan Williams indexes, you can do so. Their main material, what was the full English with the addition of other collections like Baring Gould, Ken Stubbs sound recordings, Carpenter collection, that lot is here, and this is where you can choose particular collection. So you could say I want the Roud indexes plus the Henry Hammond manuscript collection. Now in some ways there's not much point in doing that because I have indexed the Henry Hammond manuscript collection, so you will pick up Henry Hammond material in my index and then you can go to the catalogue. But some super advanced people might want to choose my indexes and those listed for Vaughan Williams. Of course I can't guarantee that I've done all of the collections yet. So that's the left hand side. That's what you can do to choose or deselect particular collections, particular indexes. Don't forget actually that one of the most important ones is this one at the top. If you want to wipe out all the ticks, you can click on that, or if you want to tick everything, you can click on that. So, well, let's do that. So that has selected everything, and that has deselected everything, which is useful. Of course, now I've deselected I'm going to go back to the start and reselect Roud indexes. So it should be back to just mine. That's it. Right. So that's the left hand side. Now right hand side is where you actually do your advanced searching. But before we get to a search, let's talk about some other features. You know from previous tutorials about view results as, if you want a list or on the map, click there, but the default is as full records. That's something you haven't seen yet, and a very useful little thing if you're doing a lot of complicated searches is order by, in other words sort. And you click on there, you can sort your results by title, place, Roud number, and so on. Now that really is very useful. If you're doing a search for place, for instance, done and you get lots of different songs, it might be useful to group them by Roud number so that you can tell which songs are which. If you're looking for a certain song and you get a lot of hits, and you'll notice that the performer has the same name coming up on several hits because he or she was recorded several times. If you order by performer, you can easily see which ones are unique, which ones are duplicated. So don't forget your order by or sort, because that is useful. Prioritize items with media. We'll now talk about that, but first of all we'll talk about up here on the right hand side. You can select just the records with digital media. Now the difference between these two up here is only get me those with digital media. Down here is when you've found everything, just list the ones with digital media first, prioritize them. So they're different types of search. But this digital media, as you'll have gathered from part 3 of these tutorials, are the embedded or attached images or sound files. Now there's thousands and thousands of those in the Vaughan Williams site, because of course that was their main project. Their full English project was digitizing and attaching all the manuscripts. But in my indexes there's probably about 10,000 attached images and maybe 5,000 attached sound file, something like that. So those are things that are actually embedded and you can see the item straight away. So that's a good thing to tick, but I don't recommend it at the moment. The problem is that it doesn't include the ones that have a URL link. In other words, the ones where you can just click on it and go straight to a website for the image or the sound recording. And there's way over 50,000 of those. So clicking on this box at the moment excludes a lot of material that is just as easy to find as if it was embedded. So I don't recommend the use of that, but certainly you could use the prioritize down there in the order by. So let's turn that off again. So finally we can get to searching, advanced search, which computer people now call filter by field, but I call it advanced searching. What we said about the simple search was that the reason why it's too non-specific, it's too scattergun approach, is that you can't specify the field easily. Although I did show you how to do the codes. So if you typed in RN 558, you should get Roud number 558. So you'll have to look at the tutorial video for part 3, simple searching, to get those codes for the different fields. But in the advanced search you don't need to do that, although that's a quick way of doing it. If you happen to know that title is TT, then you can bang it straight in. If you leave this saying all fields, then in effect this is a simple search. It will literally search all fields, all records, as with the simple search. But this gives you a much more sophisticated search facility here and a way of combining fields that we haven't seen before. So we could search for Claudy Banks, a well-known song. Everybody loves Claudy Banks. And what happens? That's fine. So we got 319 hits. Remember, this will include the broadsides as well as the collected versions. Remember, if you want to go back to Advanced Search, click on Advanced Search. Don't go up to the little arrow in the top left corner. That will confuse it. Go back to Advanced Search. So Claudy Banks gave us 319. But remember, of course, that that's already a bit unspecific, because not only is there maybe more than one song called Claudy Banks, but that's not found the ones that are called something else or where Claudy is spelt differently. So let's do that search again just to get the box out of the way. Having done that, it's probably a good idea to then just click on 266, and that's found all of the Claudy Bankses under different titles. For instance, one over there, Claudy with an IE. Now, the 388 records, we can narrow those down in any way we want to. So let's do that again. Let's say Roud number 266. And so clicking on the plus gives you another field, and place England. And there we go. 64 results. But I could, of course, say Roud number 266, click on the and, make it not place England. So in other words, I have excluded those English ones. Now I can mix and match any field I want to. I can do, as we explained a bit in the simple search, I can do OR. So I want Roud number in 266 in USA. Or place Canada spelled wrong. Golden rule. Always check your spelling. Submit. Now, theoretically, that has found me all the USA ones and all the Canadian ones, although in computer terms it is an OR search. I want Canada or USA. Search for Canada and USA, you will only find those records that mention both. Now, as mentioned in the simple search, a very important part of the searching isn't to do necessarily with the song itself, although that's your main thing that you're searching for, presumably, if you're watching this tutorial. You may want things to do with the source, the item that the song is in, i.e. the format. You might want a particular format. You might want only the sound recordings. Or if you're searching for things that are likely to be in books, you might only want the ones that have music. And that's where it's important to know how to do this advanced search, because you really can't do that properly in the simple search unless you know the underlying codes. So you can get rid of these previous searches if you want to by clicking on the minus, which closes things down, or you can click on the dustbin, which resets all fields. So let's say you want Roud 266 again, because we happen to know it, but you only want the sound recordings. So plus all fields, format. Now what you get here isn't a box where you can type things in. What you get is a list. So if it comes up with a word already in there and an arrow, you know that there's a list underneath. So in this case I only want sound recordings. Now as we've said before in these videos, these the search engine has to deal with my material and Vaughan Williams material as well. Now Vaughan Williams go into more detail. They say whether it's vinyl or other, or tape or DVD, CD. Now I don't, I'm just saying it's a sound recording. So be careful you don't tick on the wrong one, because then you probably won't find anything in my index, although I do have lots of vinyl in there. I haven't coded it as vinyl, I've coded it as sound recording. So Roud number 266, format equals sound recording. And I should get a lot of them, 62 results. Now this doesn't necessarily mean that the recording is here for you to listen to. It means that the source that I'm indexing, this is a CD, this is the BBC collection, this is the Gwilym Davies collection, doesn't necessarily mean that they are available on this site, but that it's telling you where they are. So if we go back to advanced search, of course this is where you would usually use your digital media, but as I say, don't forget that excludes the very important URL links. But in this case, if you just want a quick instant gratification, you could click on that, and hopefully, yes, here we are, and we have 2 sound recordings there. And I don't know why that has come up. It's because there's a mistake. That should say printed text, or yes, manuscript, that should say, because it's typed anyway. But you do have 2 there that you can listen to. In fact, you have 6 embedded versions that you can listen to straight away. But don't forget, I keep saying this, don't forget always to look down the bottom for external URL, because that's another way of getting instantly 2 recordings. Oh look, there's another spelling of Claude. So that's the format. The format is quite detailed. You can go to printed, you can choose sound recordings, you can choose manuscripts, you can choose broadsides. Now they're under printed street literature broadside. Or if you want all the broadsides and the chapbooks, in other words all the street literature, you can go to printed and street literature itself, and so on. So there are lots of different ways of narrowing your search if you want to, but most people are just looking for either the words or the music, sound recording, that sort of thing. Now the other field that's used for is content, source contents. Another, again it's got the list here. Now this is mostly, a lot of it is to do with printed material, because it's whether or not the source has the text, whether it has the music, and in this case we mean written music, notation, or whether it's an audio file. So normally for my index is text, music and audio are the main categories that people are likely to be looking for. So if you only want the ones with the music, with the printed music in, then 266 source content music. Go. Oh, I've left the digital media ticked. So what we've got is 3 results with the music, but that's because these are the embedded media. Take off the embedded media. Small point there, if things are not doing what you think they should be, it's usually because you've left something ticked or unticked that you've forgotten about. So if it all seems to be going wrong, it's not usually the machine, it's usually because you've left out something, or normally left in something, as in that case. But 266 with the music and not with the digital media ticked. We get 66 with the printed music or written music. So that pretty much covers the advanced search facility. The next part, number 5, will go into a bit more detail with the possibility, if you want it, of downloading the data, these indexes, to your computer at home for home use and importing them into other databases. But part 5 will also cover the other smaller indexes that I've got on the website, things like the bibliography, the broadside printers register, and that kind of thing. So I'll leave you with the Mammoth Sockster number 60, which is yours for only 5 cents.